Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu, b'mitzvotav etzivanu, lihadlich ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Since we're starting without a minyan, I'll let you know which prayers we're not going to say, but I'm also going to keep an eye out in case it changes by the time we get to the appropriate prayers. So we'll welcome everybody to Temple Beth Israel for another Shabbat service. My name is Michael Tuchman, one of the members here and also the synagogue president. This is typically the time, after Shavuot and before Yom Kippur, is typically the time when Jewish synagogues are less populated, so to say nicely, whereas synagogues at the beach become more populated. So it is that season.
Could we solve this by just having more holidays throughout the year?
I think that, well, we have plenty of holidays in the summer, but they're all sad. Let's begin on page 6. We begin this section of the service where we are welcoming Shabbat. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding them up a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. And continue on page 7. Read responsively by paragraph. Where is this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. In Sing L'cha Dodi, we're welcoming the Sabbath bride. I'm sorry. Before L'cha Dodi, we're on page 16 now. Just jump over to page 16. Sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and a melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before Adonai, the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands and the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its peoples with equity. Now we'll sing L'chado Di. We'll do the first 3 verses together, and then we will skip to verse number 9. L'chado. Can you help me with the tune? L'chado Di Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabala. L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabala. 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, 3, and 9, right?
Right. Yes. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shemo tiferet v'litila L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabala L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabala Likrat Shabbat L'chuven Elcha Ki hi mechor habracha Mirosh mikedem nituhuka Sof maseh b'macha shvat tehila L'chado likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabala L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela Mikdash Melech Melucha Kunitzi Mitoch Hafecha Ravlach Shevet Bemechabacha V'yu hakamo alaychem la L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Verse 9, Boi Halom Ateret B'Ha V'Simcha Zalcha Token Mune Am Segula Boi Chala L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela L'chado Di Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Since we do not have a minyan, we don't say the Baruch Hu, but we can't say the other blessings that we would say if we were praying to ourselves quietly. I believe the next section of the Shabbat service focuses on how we separate the day from the night, the Shabbat from the rest of the week. And we continue in English at the bottom of page 30. I'm going to read the first paragraph in Hebrew, then we'll all read together in English. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro mariv aravim, b'chokmah poteach sharim, uvitnuva mashei itim, umlachaf et hazmanim, umasadir et hakokhavim, b'shimoritem braicha kirtzono. Altogether at the bottom of page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, arranges the stars, heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continuously for us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, Zon evening. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Page 34, and again, if I say something and it's not appropriate, especially for a non-minion, let me know. My feelings will not be hurt. I researched it, but I may have not hit every detail that I should have. I do believe we say the Shema. That's on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Continue on page 36 in Hebrew together. The transliteration is at the top and the left if you prefer the transliteration. I'm sorry, this is my fault.
Do the Torah reading of it, but
If you, I draw a blank on the tune. If you just start me in the tune, I'll remember it. Ta et Elohecha b'kol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadavarim ha'eleh Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom Al Levavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibart Tabam V'shitka Veitecha Uvleftecha V'derech Uvshofcha Uvkumecha Uvshartam Hayu L'totafot Beinenecha Uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. And at the let's read the second paragraph in English together at the bottom. The one that begins, "Thus shall you remember." Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 42, at the bottom in English altogether, this is the Hashkey Veino prayer where we grant God the ability to lie down safely in peace. Midenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Veino Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom. L'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufros Eleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. V'taknenu Beitza Nova. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and peace evermore. Prayer for me always had a strong personal effect, and especially now with the times and circumstances being more anxious than usual, due to fighting in the Middle East and enhanced anti-Semitism around the globe. For me, it's important not just to pray for safety, but also to mind the statement about God delivering us from wrongdoing, because even though we are threatened, we cannot let being the offendee and get angry and become the offender. It's very important that we keep our peace and present the best example of Judaism to the world that we can. Now we will move to page 44 with Vishamra, which we will sing together in Hebrew. And this time I know the tune. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veino b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat yasod et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Did I just Vayinafash, Shabbat Vayinafash, Shabbat Vayinafash, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Yasod et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Now we get to the part of the service where we do the Amidah. Because we do not have a minyan, we still do it, but we do it the silent part first, and there are some limits in how much I will recite when we do it all together. So we read silently from page 46 through 63. I should say pray silently, not read silently. Sorry, it was my fault, but we should stand, and when we're done, we sit down. It's my bad. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur V'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chazdei Avot V'imaot, Uvmi Gudula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Achava. Page 50. Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayecha Kol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mechael Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh Hakol B'Rachamim Ravim, Somlech Noflim, V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Kayem Umunato Lishanei Afar, Michamoka Ba'al Gevarot, Ume Domalach, Melech Memit, Chaye Umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. And then we skip the section on page 52 and 54. And then let's read together, actually in English on page 56. Find favor, Adonai, our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. And you skip 58. And let's go to page 60 for Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasihim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasihim leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon l'chol hashalom, v'rov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and in every moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. I felt like we needed that tonight. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu hamvarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. Before we skip over to the Aleinu, I just wanted to make everyone aware of, there's a couple of editorial choices that I made in reading tonight. You know, we read the Hebrew and we may learn the song as a group and learn the meaning as a group and forget sometimes about the individual words, but sometimes the individual words are important. Well, they're always important, but in particular, you know, they have some importance to me as I think about things tonight. When we read the Amidah, we have two choices. We can read, let's skip back to, what are you? If we should jump back to page 50 for a minute, it says, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. We could also have read the word in parentheses, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. And they're very different blessings. The Reform movement doesn't typically believe in literally the resurrection from the dead. And that's what hametim means. It is the resurrection of the dead. You can read that symbolically or interpretively if you prefer. But I like the interpretation of raising all of us, or uplifting all of our spirits. That's what Hakol means. Hakol means the totality or all. And Ameti means, I mean, when I'm in services with other people, I don't mind saying the old-fashioned way, but I wanted to also let you know that the editorial choice was being made. There's a similar editorial choice being made when we read the Aleinu. One of the trickier parts of this prayer book is that there are two versions of the Aleinu, and they sort of jump around a little bit. And the reason why is we have a difficult and controversial passage in the old way of reading the Aleinu. Not the old way, but the traditional way. And there's nothing wrong with it. But there are two approaches to dealing with a difficult passage. One is to read it and discuss it and wrestle with it. And we Jews are wrestlers. We wrestle with the Siddur just like Jacob wrestled, with God that night, and that's why we were called Israel in the first place. So I tend to like to keep the trickier passages in there with the understanding that we need to discuss them and not just read them blindly. If you call the second version of the Aleinu deals with the traditional version of the Aleinu, in addition to calling us to service, in God's name, and that's the most important theme, but there's a secondary theme that God set us apart from the other nations. And that's tricky for a lot of Jews to handle, because are we saying we're better than everybody else? Well, we're not the same as everybody else, and everybody has a different gift that they bring to God's service. This was written at a time when, or calling back to a time when everybody else was worshiping rocks and stones, and so saying that we were called to God's service doesn't make us necessarily better, but it's the same feeling that we're given the Word of God and we need to share it with the world. We're called to a particular obligation, not necessarily to be God's favored people above others. So other people have different opinions, and there's a lot that could be discussed there. But in reading it, I just wanted to make clear that I'm not trying to make a claim of superiority for us. But I'd rather read the original and deal with the difficulties than smooth it over with words that may be a little bit more calming, but might miss out on part of the prayer. So the Aleinu begins on page 282.
There seems to be three.
What?
There seems to be three versions.
Yeah. But our version starts at the bottom of 282, the second Hebrew paragraph. There are three, aren't there? The third one has the same issue as the second one, though. So let us rise. Remember that in the Aleinu we go on our knees when we say Korim, we bow when we hear Umodim, and we raise our bodies up back again after hearing Melech. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishbachot hadama, shelo sam kalkenu kachem, v'gohor aleinu Kichol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Top of page 284. Shechunotei shamayim v'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mihimal, u'shvina tuzo, b'govhei meromim, Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv b'torato, v'yadatam, v'dat hayom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, Bashamayim mihimo, Yal Haaretz, Yal Haaretz, Yal Ein And let's read quietly page 284 and 285 and 286, and we'll come together for the final words. You'll hear me start. But just read quietly from 284 through 286. V'nehemar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Thus has it been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the earth, and in that day Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one. You may be seated. Unfortunately, we cannot do the mourner's Kaddish or the prayer for the sick, because those are things that both require a minyan and the ark being open. So, well, not the mourner's Kaddish though. So we can go to our final song. And I had it and I lost it. I only printed out the first page of my thing. It's going to be on. Actually, I don't know if I want to do that one, but this is one of my favorites. Back from Hillel in graduate school. 339. It's Gesher Tsar Ma'od. The entire world is but a narrow bridge. The main thing is not to be afraid. Actually, can you help me with the tune again? Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Kol ha'olam Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal, v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. Let's do it. I chose a short one, so we learned the tune. Let's all do it together. Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal, v'ha'ikar v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. Thank you. Good Shabbos, everybody. A couple of quick announcements. Just want to let you know that we have services every 2 weeks. And we can correct me if I'm wrong, but the next one will be at Berwick.
Yes,
Is the next one also a pop-up?
the next one is
Yeah.
pop-up. From this point forward, with the easing of restrictions, there's no reason for us not to. We have a cleanup day.
It's cleanup day. It was supposed to happen like the second Sunday in June, but that seems tight.
Excuse me, it's next Sunday,
Okay.
coming up, June 6th. And rain date for that is the following Sunday.
Okay. June 13th.
And that will be here 11 to 2.
All right. So it is happening.
There's a bulk email going out, actually tomorrow. I just wanted to wait and see if there was anything else I should put into it.
At this point, that is it. And we go downstairs, have Kiddush, and thank you for coming, and good Shabbos.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you. So we need to get you up there.
Tov lehodot Lashem. Tov lehodot Lashem. U'lezamer